Hey guys, and welcome back to Into the Square, your weekly current affairs and social issues podcast. And I'm your host for today, Bishop. And today we have a full house.
Cheese.
Hi
Come on.
guys.
Hi. What's up?
Hey, consistency, yo.
Yeah,
You don't need
yeah,
to
he's
say it
got
every
something on his
episode with then, fam.
sunburn.
Nah, to be
Innit?
fair, Sandra wasn't here last time, innit? So it wasn't really
Yeah,
consistency, but
exactly, man.
We had
Yeah, but
someone
I'm
better
back
than
now.
last time. We had someone better last time.
but
So the whole gang is back, and today we're going to be discussing a bit more of a serious topic. And the topic of discussion today will be euthanasia and assisted suicide. And this might be quite emotional to some of our listeners and viewers. And hopefully we can discuss this in a way that it wouldn't be too, that we can explore it without offending too many people.
It's a little,
So
just
euthanasia, in its definition, is the act of deliberately ending a person's life to relieve suffering, and assisted suicide is when the person does it themselves, while euthanasia is when the doctor takes the actual action which will end the person's life. So let's begin. Open the discussion by. So I'd just like to get your opinion on what you guys think of euthanasia, and what's your opinion on it.
yeah. I think it's a very tricky situation because a lot of people don't like really value the sanctity of life and what it offers, and a lot of people think there should be under no circumstances that you should like end a person's life or you should end your life. But what I think is for someone to really and truly want to end their life just because of all the pain and suffering they're in, like there must be like a really good reason. Like I don't think how we would ever be able to experience that pain and suffering, that we could never relate to it. But like for someone to like, actually want to like end their life like that, because whether it be like mental or physical like suffering, I'm not saying like yeah, whether it be mental or physical suffering, it's it seems like it would be like it seems like it would be like very hard and very thing. But so I think I agree. I think it should be like a thing in cases where like there seems like there's no quality of life. There's like nothing well going on for them. They're just living for the sake of living, and they're in like pain constantly. I think yeah, like they should be allowed to like respectively end their life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bit conflicted on this as well, actually, because on one hand, I'm like, oh, if the person that wants to kill themselves or like or doesn't want to live any longer, and they have a condition that's it's not curable, and so if they're like incurable, then it's like for them they probably it's like they don't see the point of living anymore, kind of thing. So maybe then, but then also at the same time, I think like when we're in pain, like we're gonna be making rash decisions, and like not even like trying to make a joke out of it, but like when you're like when your teeth is hurting bad, and you're like shit, like it's actually hurting so much, and then but then like it's like that, but like say 10 times more in it, and they're in that much pain, then I guess like in that situation, then I understand when people do choose to do that. So that's where I'm conflicted. I'm like, oh, if it's incurable, then yeah, like what they can do, they can kill themselves, or they can have a euthanasia done. If they're gonna go through a lot of suffering at the end of life, and you kind of want to see life as like something you had fun, people around you want to see you happy, and like people you don't want people around you to remember you as that person as you were like near your end of life. Then I guess yeah, but then also at the same time, you could like decisions that you could make are gonna be very rash, and like especially when you're going through a lot of suffering and you can't see like a means to an end. You might think, oh, this is the way to go out. Then you could also obviously see a lot of people just making that decision when they can be curable, they can get better, but they just don't have not have the willpower, and they're not strong enough to go past it. Obviously, they're already going through so much. But it's just like if they just stick on it for a little bit, then if they can get better and all this pain and suffering can go away without having to kill themselves, then why would you choose to do that? Innit? So yeah, I'm a bit conflicted on this one actually.
Yeah, I think I don't really want to echo everything that you guys have said because I agree to most parts what you've said. But I think I just want to shine a light on why this is such a controversial topic. It's mainly because like in generally in life, like you're allowed to especially in medicine, like you're allowed to make decisions if you have capacity. that won't, for example, let's say you've got like a surgery or treatment that you could have, you're allowed to make a decision. Like, even though it might not be like a correct decisions to other people, you can still make that decision if you want, right? So the reason that this is so controversial is like, you're not like preventing. It's like you're not taking on the benefit of a medical treatment. It's the opposite. It's like you're harming yourself. So that's so controversial, because it's like, should you let people harm themselves? Should you let people, literally commit suicide at the end of the day? That's basically what they're doing. So that's where it becomes controversial, and it also becomes controversial for like who should be allowed to do that? Like who has the ultimate power to actually just allow someone to end their life, or like and so I think that's where it becomes so controversial. And I fully agree with you guys saying now, if someone in so much pain, like that they want to commit suicide, that they don't see themselves living, like there's no point in their living, they've got no quality of life and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's like, if they're stuck in bed, they can't really do anything. There still needs to be someone, or like a medical professional or anyone, that is going to help them to commit suicide. And that's where it becomes so controversial, is like, who has the power to do that? Because no one can, as we stand, like no one can really should be allowed to have that power. So I think that's why it's controversial and so like interesting. And I'm still like, I've never really fully made my mind up on should it be allowed or should it not, So yeah, I don't know if you want to answer it short, to be honest.
I think what I was gonna say with that power thing, I think it's down to the person and what they like and their circumstances. Like, if their circumstances is that there's no other way for them to like ease their pain and suffering, they're at the last stage of like basically life. Like, they've gone through everything, every procedure, everything to try and get them better, but yeah, they're at the last stage where that's just it for them. There's no moving up or down. And well, yeah, they might not be in like physical pain, but they probably are in a lot of mental pain. If someone's paralyzed and they can't move and all they can do is just live and breathe and they can't enjoy anything, then what sort of quality of life is that? And I would say that in that circumstance, they have the option to be like, I give my consent for this person who I trust to end my life for me. And then if the other party is consenting in that they would also want to do that for them, then I don't see what the big deal is, what the problem is with that.
So I'd just like to summarize everything you guys have said, and maybe like bring up a few points of mine as well. So from I guess from hearing your opinion, I would assume that you guys were saying that you can see why euthanasia might be right decision for some people, especially if they're in pain or if they're in suffering. And especially the way you guys were talking about is often in palliative care sense, where it's like, let's say someone has cancer and then a lot of pain and it's the end of life sort of situation. But loads of issues kind of arise from thinking in this way, just because, for example, a lot of cancers, for example, I'll give an example of pancreatic cancer. It has a 5-year survival of 5%. So it's not necessarily curable, but then there are 5 out of 100 people who will survive past 5 years. So in what point do we decide a disease is curable and what is not curable? Because it's often a probability sort of situation in medicine, where the answer isn't like black or white. It's often quite grey in a sense. So it's quite hard to decide, how long will this person live and what is their end of life? Because loads of people with COPD, it's kind of hard. Like loads of people with like certain diseases, it's quite hard to predict when exactly their life will end. And doctors might either overestimate how long the patient will live or underestimate how long the patient has to live. And we also have to consider, you guys also mentioned that it's the fact that with the pain and suffering, and people shouldn't have to go through that, especially in the end of their life. But pain can be both in a physical sense and in a mental sense.
Yeah.
If you have that looming over you, maybe you might not be in that physical pain as we know how objectively we describe pain to be, in that sort of like you feeling that sensation of pain, or rather it might be sort of like a mental thing where let's say for example, if you have a motor neuron disease and you're having to wear nappies, you can't really go to the toilet, you're incontinent, and someone has to wipe your poo, so that can cause mental suffering in a sense as well. So maybe that person isn't necessarily in a physical sense of pain. So is it still all right for that sort of person to end their life, or it's not really like a physical pain? And we also have to consider how are like patients with the mental health problems. So like in schizophrenia, your whole sense of the world is kind of gone, and you're in that mental suffering. So you can have like relapses of where you're aware of your situation, where you have schizophrenia and you're aware. But then there are certain times when the person can be so paranoid and like so out of touch with the reality, and their whole life can be like quite in shambles. And how about like people, that sort of people, like people that are very depressed? Do they have like a right to end their life? Like, is it ethical for them to end their life? Because although they're not in that physical suffering, they are going through a lot of mental suffering or mental pain, if that makes sense. What do you guys think of that?
But I think like when you're talking about mental like stuff like that, I think that is a valid point. But when things are like, there is like a, you can cure depression and those sort of things. I mean, you can't cure it, but you can there is a way to get out of depression, isn't there? There is a way to come out of that
Treat
cycle
it,
of
yeah.
depression. There's a way to beat it, and there's a way to get better from it. But in those circumstances, what I'm talking about, like on your deathbed, but that's it. Like you're on your deathbed. Like if someone's like, as I said, someone's like paralyzed from like the neck down or something. How are you gonna beat that? How are you gonna what's the cure for that? There currently there is nothing, and there is no way for them to like overcome that sort of illness, is there? But that's what I'm saying. Like those type of things. If there is like a short, if there has been examples of, oh, there's been a cure or there's been thing, then I think we
So
should
can I just like
yeah.
so I just want to ask you a question just so you can expand on your point. So are you saying that it is all right? So in your opinion, it's more like if you'd answer in with an ethical way. So you'd say that euthanasia is or like it's ethically right if it is at that end of life, but you would consider it to be not right for society. For let's say like they have like 6 months to live, but they want to end their life. So is it right if it's very close to death, but not necessarily like 6 months? What's your opinion like
If they
regarding
if
that?
they if they but it depends on their situation. I mean, yeah, if they're in like a lot of pain, and then like if they have 6 months to live, why prolong that life when every second, every millisecond is miserable for them? Like what's what I don't see anything, and they're
Yeah, but
sure.
then yeah, sorry,
No, I was
sorry.
just
I'll
saying
let you
they're
finish it.
surely going to pass away. They're gonna die, right? But like that six
See, I
months
think
is gonna be hell
no,
for them.
no. See, I think this fundamentally comes down to the thing that Bishop was on about, saying how like yeah, fair enough, you can say that people are gonna die, you can predict that, but like we said, like no one knows what the future,
Yeah.
and you can't predict exactly like, like the example Bishop mentioned about 5% of the pancreatic cancer patients surviving after 5 years. Like, yeah, most likely you're gonna die. Yeah, we get that. But what if you wanna, you know, there is that possibility of you living. And again, it fundamentally does come down to your personal decision, like how optimistic you are, and would
Yeah.
you have to weigh it up. Like, right, if I'm gonna take the 5% chance of me living, or like most likely I'm gonna die and I'm gonna have miserable 5 years or 4 years, however much I live. So it does come down to a very personal question, and it again comes back to the point that I was mentioning. Like, yeah, fine. Like, you get people that want to die. That's fair enough. You get people that don't want to live because they're in so much pain. That is also fair enough. But like at the end of the day, who makes that decision to like? Let's say they're paralyzed. They can't move. They can't do anything. Like, who makes that decision to like just stop them from like becoming alive? You know what I mean?
Okay, I had another question as well. Sorry, go on.
No, that was it. Honestly, that was it.
But I was gonna say I had a question. Like so it might be such a stupid question to ask, yeah, but when someone's in a coma and they just decide to turn off the is it the ventilator?
Yeah.
Life
Then
support
like
machine.
life support machines. So what's the thinking behind that then? So isn't that kind of similar to euthanasia because that person is in a coma and then the doctors basically have come to a decision that they probably aren't like gonna come out of this coma or for like Bishop was saying earlier how it's gonna be a chance of probabilities and the probability of them coming out of the coma is so low. They're like, you know what? At this point, let's just turn it off, and that kind of becomes the economic decision, isn't it? Would you not say? So it's not.
Yeah.
It's more so an economic decision And your point earlier, I'm not even like supporting euthanasia, but I'm just saying like this whole thing about how, and even you saying earlier how people like giving people the tools to kill themselves, but then like there's so many things that do kill us, but then those are like not criminalized, or like even like say drinking alcohol, like that slowly kills people, like smoking cigarettes that slowly kills people, but then like what? So it kind of becomes like a economics thing, and it like kind of becomes like money, like if it's like if it's the fact that they're in coma and they can't like, and then it kind of is costing the hospital money, it's costing the taxpayers money to like keep them in the hospital bed, like keep the life support machine on. Then you're like, you know what, no, let's end this person's life. But then say like in a privatized healthcare system, I don't know, do you know what I mean, do you get what I'm trying to say? Or like,
I get what you're trying to say, but I don't know how much of it is just to do with money, because at the end of the day, like for example in like an ITU situation, like you will have some beds. For example, I'll literally give you an example. Like last week I was in ITU in my rotations, right? And I literally, this is the same thing that happened. So a patient had like pancreatic cancer. This is crazy, but the patient had pancreatic cancer, and he was in ITU bed for like 8 days, and he was literally just internally bleeding more and more and more and more. And there's to a point where you can't do so much, and he's been like unconscious for like 2 weeks now, and it comes to a point where like you do judge it, and obviously you have to have some very like religious decisions, you have to have some family decisions, everything is involved in this. It's not just like simply just the doctors deciding, oh yeah, this patient's not going to live, so we're just going to turn the ventilators off. It's not literally so straightforward, and it's also not because oh yeah, we can spend this money out in some other department or something like that, you know. It's not really just that. I think it is based on the likelihood of that person living, and in that situation, it does come to the point where you have a conversation with the family, you have a conversation with the doctors, you have a conversation with like the religious people that are involved as well, and they become like, you know, they come to a joint decision, and yeah, in fact you are giving these people powers to end someone's life, right? But I don't think it's quite straightforward as that as well, though, because it's like you're not ending their life, you're just not providing treatment to just keep them alive. Because, like, for example, if you went to give them the ventilator, they'll just die anyway. You know what I mean? You're not killing them. It's just, like, not providing the treatment that's just futile at the end of it. That's the difference between euthanasia and what's happening in just generally in hospitals. It's just you're not providing the treatment. No, it's not even treatment. It's just like you're just not ventilating them just to, like, not make them die, basically.
But then isn't that... Them. I feel like...
So euthanasia is like a direct action. So in the UK, it's illegal to have like a action causing the death, if that makes sense. But it's not illegal for some, for like, let's say patient's on NG feed. If the doctor stops the NG feed and the patient kind of dies from that, that's not necessarily illegal. It's not illegal to not provide a medical
treatment,
intervention. But it is illegal to provide a intervention which causes the death. Like, if that makes sense.
But
at that point, doesn't it become like economically motivated then? Because
so then you gotta consider, like, if it was just an economically motivated decision, then someone like Steve Jobs, who died, you know, he would still be in ventilation. Then you get me? Like he had like 50 billion or something. I don't know. So why would he not just like pay for the ventilation, someone like that? You get me? It's clearly not just an economic decision. Because otherwise billionaires will just keep themselves in coma, and hopefully one day they'll, you know, maybe like live. Like, you get me? It's not necessarily that sort of decision. It's more like yes, I guess there is an economic sense to it. Like, for example, if someone needs that machine and they have a high probability chance of living, then that decision will kind of come into the play. Like, for example, like patients will be denied ITU bed if there is a shortage of it, and there's a higher probability chance of someone else living. Like, for example, if there's a young person and an old person who's literally has 6 months to live, and there's only one ITU bed, the ITU bed was most likely the young person has a greater chance of making use of the ITU bed. At the end of the day, the society, there is limited resource, and that is something that does come into play. But that is just part of the decision. There is a lot more, like, you know, other aspects to decision making in medical, like that sort of medical setting. But it would be unfair to say economics doesn't play no part to it. But I would say that it doesn't play the biggest part to it.
Yeah, and which is, I think, it is a good thing at the end of the day, because like it just shows that you still want to preserve life of people that have quality of life left, you know. And in this situation anyway, there was an ITU bed of like 8 people, and only 2 beds were full. as in there were like 6 beds left. So it wasn't the case of we didn't have any beds left. So we had to turn down that.
This actually brings. I feel like people don't understand how good like life support machines are. Like the patient could never come back to life. Yeah, the life support machine will keep you alive for like time. Like
crazy.
It will keep you going. Like keep the patient going.
But
for
I was gonna say, why is that when isn't like so when doctors turn off the ventilating machine, so they're like saying, oh, we don't want to treat this patient anymore, right? That's essentially what they're saying. But couldn't you argue that once you're under the care of a doctor, that their whole like job is to treat the person until failure?
Okay, so let's say
Doctors
but there's
aren't
only
gods, G.
a finite.
No, but I'm
finite
saying,
number
but
of
they
beds,
have the means to do that. I'm trying to like they have the means to keep this person alive. They have the means to keep them alive for as long as possible, and that's their job.
So let's say this is the baseline of life, yeah. So let's say this is the baseline. So you need your diaphragm to work, you need your heart to pump, you need your brain to work, yeah. Let's say this is the baseline of life, and you're just about to dip under. So people like the doctors ventilate you, hoping that you come back up like that, yeah. So let's say this is the baseline required for life. But then if you keep dipping under, like let's say on ventilation, when your organ function and everything is just dipping down, like the trajectory is just this way, if you're just projecting this way, then it comes to a point where they have to stop it. Like, let's say you're dipping down like this, but you're coming up. They're not gonna stop the ventilation. You know what I mean?
No, but I'm
like,
saying
they're gonna like probably keep you in ventilation.
What if they've been like dipping for years and years, and but there's a little like
but
that's what I'm trying to say.
That doesn't happen. It's like
Bro,
it's like if you smash like a mirror, it's not gonna put itself back together. Like It just,
exactly. I think it comes to a point where like obviously there's a lot of like experience, there's a lot of education into it as well. They're not gonna just be like what Bishop said. If they've just gone down that far, they're not gonna just stop it and whilst they're improving, they will obviously let the person,
but then
help the person most as they can. But I think it is to the point where like if you yourself can't fix a problem, you have to think like what is best for the patient. Like it's best for the patient literally keeping them in a ventilator for like I don't know 10 years 20 years if you want to anyway, for that long. Yeah, they're fine, they will be alive, but like it comes to a point where it's just more of the family want them alive, or like someone else wants them alive rather than the patient wanting themselves to be alive. So that's what it comes down to, I think. And at the end of the day, then you kind of have to say, okay, yeah, that's it then, and just have to.
It comes to the question also, what is life? Because then like these ventilation machine will literally these ventilation machine will keep you alive. Like let's say you could take a brain out and just perfuse it. You know what I mean? Like you could just like remove the whole person, just have the brain and perfuse it with like with a machine, and you keep the brain alive, like the brain cells alive. Doesn't necessarily mean the person's alive.
Yeah,
you get me?
but I'm saying
it's just at this point,
okay. But like I was gonna say, you've said, oh, there comes a point when the doctors they made that decision, right? Or that person, it's not worth it anymore. What if that same person was like alive, but he was like, again, I'm using the paralysis example. There's no like there's no like improvements. There's no improvements from this, but I'm saying there's no improvements, but then that person's not going to be improved. So what's the point in like essentially keeping them alive? If it's the same thing as putting them on the ventilator.
Wait,
essentially, they're just it's going to be like essentially the same as like putting them on the ventilator. They're a lot.
Wait, could you repeat that?
I'm saying.
Yeah.
I forgot what I was.
No, he's basically saying that like if you were to keep the patient alive in the ventilator, like when it's like he's basically saying when there's the limit that you just let them die, or like you keep them in the ventilator, so eventually they will give the benefit of the doubt and they will make that improvement.
Yeah, but like imagine it's the same thing, but for a person that's alive. Technically he's alive, he's well, he's conscious, but you can't do anything. It's basically the same thing as a ventilator, but he's conscious. So when does that?
That's the question. Like me and Sandra probably wouldn't be able to answer at this point.
I think we're just simplifying too much.
No, I'm just saying.
Okay,
I'm
also,
trying to like
what I was trying to say earlier was with euthanasia. It's like although again I'm not supporting it. Or I'm not like saying it's what I want like to be legalized in the UK. But what I'm trying to say is that like Bishop's point earlier about how say certain people with issues such as mental health issues or like anything else. Why though they might like misuse it, let's say, or they might just say they want to like they want the doctors to participate in this, and then obviously eventually But then what I'm trying to say is those people could easily just go out and then use other methods of ending their life in it. But euthanasia, in a sense for me, what I was trying to say was like, say those people who can't like do it themselves. That's what I was trying to say anyway. Like obviously
Yeah.
people that can do it themselves with other means, if they really want to do it, like it's like you won't be able to stop them. And I think we were speaking about this earlier, how suicide isn't even like criminalized in the UK. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but like so it's like they can easily just go ahead and do that, innit? But
Yeah.
Wait, suicide is criminalized, isn't it?
wait,
Weird,
No.
give me a second.
it's the-
Hold on a second. Stop there. My mum's fucking hoovering, bro. Like,
We can't hear it.
We can't hear it, by the way.
you
but-
sure? But imagine
Yeah.
that. No, I want to tell her like to not come in here. So pissing me off, man.
No, but as in, wait, hold on. Is suicide criminalized? I thought it wasn't.
Yeah, it's decriminalized.
No, sorry, it is criminalized. I'm saying it's illegal to commit suicide.
No, it's decriminalized.
Wait, as you saying, are you saying it's illegal or legal to commit suicide?
It's legal. It's decriminalized.
Just answer the question. Is it illegal or?
It's legal. Yeah.
Oh, bro, I don't think it is, man.
I just checked this now. In 1960, they decriminalized it. It's decriminalized.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Sorry, yeah. So we can start again from there. Actually,
Okay,
sorry
yeah,
guys.
just-
Make your point again. Make your point again.
Oh yes, like I was saying. So it's for those people who can't do it themselves. So like people that are able to do it themselves, other ways they can go ahead and do it themselves anyway, and that wouldn't be illegal. Like say like committing suicide or like attempting to commit suicide, but euthanasia or like so it's like people that aren't able to do it themselves aren't being given a chance to, but then like people that will do it themselves, and because it's like you'd think, oh, people that can do it regardless might misuse it, kind of thing. That's what like the point Bishop was making earlier was coming across as. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, as you said, like, so this also kind of brings the question up that, like, you know, people will find a way to go about situations like this. Like, even though like euthanasia is not legal, then if they have the motivation to do it, they will find other
Or the
ways.
means
So
to,
some- But yeah, if they have the means to do it, then they will find other ways. And one thing that people often tend to do is travel to other countries to get, you know, for euthanasia. And Switzerland's a popular place that people often go, or even to the Netherlands as well. Do you think that this is right, or one thing that also comes up is the fact that people that go with their family members to, for example, Switzerland to you know, support them through that process of euthanasia, when they come back to the UK, there's been cases of them being charged with assisted suicide.
Oh damn.
So what do you guys think of that?
Yeah.
That's
I think-
quite weird, isn't it?
No, that's kind of weird because I can't like. What if like you know you go to them and like say, obviously none of us do, but like say you were to partake in the activities there, like, and then you come back to the UK and you get charged. Like, it doesn't make sense. Does
Yeah.
it? Like, it was legal in that country, or like even like, say going to America and like say you live in America, you have a gun there, but you come back to the UK. And then you don't bring your gun here, but because you own a gun there, or you like owned a gun there, they come back. You come here and they say, "Oh, owning a gun in the UK is illegal. So because you owned it there, you can't come here, and we're gonna like charge you for it." That doesn't make sense though. Like, do you know what I mean?
I guess it's different because you're a citizen of the. I mean, it like theoretically it makes like sort of sense, because you've basically what you've done is manslaughter, right? Like that's what they're like that's what the in the eyes of the UK it's manslaughter. You've helped some. Oh no, it's assisted, but like you've killed someone basically, or you've helped kill someone, right? And that's illegal in the UK. You're a citizen of the UK, so no matter where you go, it's like you have to follow those sort of rules. But yeah, it is dodgy because there's
Yeah, but then as Vidan said, you
Yeah,
go
yeah,
to
yeah.
Amsterdam.
Yeah,
and,
I guess. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. But
Yeah,
I was just
then
trying to
it's
play.
Bro, it's like what killing, like, I don't know about now, innit, but I said at one point in Nepal, like killing cows, or like even in India or something, killing cows is illegal, yeah. And imagine like what anyone that lives in the UK and has eaten beef, and what they go to Nepal, India, and they get charged because they've eaten beef in their life. Like, no, like, do you know what I mean? That doesn't make sense. Like,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure. Obviously, I don't take your legal advice from me. I don't know if eating beef in Nepal is illegal or not, but I'm just saying, like, I'm just giving an example, innit?
No, but I think it does like looking at it, like if someone was to go outside of the country just to commit suicide, it just shows firstly how desperate the
Exactly.
people must be to commit suicide, and it shows how much they've thought about just ending their life, and they're willing to go to somewhere else just to do that themselves because obviously because the UK government doesn't allow to do that, and honestly speaking, like if it's allowed there, I don't see much of a problem with it. Like if it's allowed there and they've thought about it, they talk to their family about it, and everyone's well informed, I don't see much of a problem with it. And yeah, I think to be honest, it's very hard because there's not much to say about it, to be honest, because it's just like I said, it's a personal choice. And about the people coming back to the UK to be like charged with manslaughter. That's a bit ridiculous, I think, because like we said, it shouldn't be like that. Because if you've done something else in a different country, but then again, people do get extradited, right? So I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
It's not, but then that it's not illegal in that country. That's what I'm trying to say. Obviously, it makes sense to like extradite people that have committed a crime in a certain country, and then they come to a certain country and they get sent back because they've committed a crime, but it wasn't a crime in that country in itself where this act has happened. So why should they like be charged for it? It's like imagine say.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Like, imagine as a girl, innit? You've gone on holiday like to Spain before you went to Dubai, or like to UAE, and you have like some topless pictures on your phone, and then they say because you have topless pictures, you're gonna get charged here, but this isn't like from here. Do you know what I mean? Like it doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Yeah, but if you were to have like let's say topless pictures in Dubai,
in that country, yeah,
then
it makes sense,
and you were like a Spanish or like British citizen, then it makes sense to extradite them to Dubai and then have it. I got you. I got you. Yeah.
Mm. Okay, so this topic of euthanasia also brings to the question that what makes a life worth living, and also because there is voluntary and involuntary euthanasia, does a doctor really get to decide if someone's worth is for them to continue living or for them to end their life? So what do you guys think about what makes someone's worth living?
I think every life essentially should be worth living for. Every life is precious. Life is, it's like you should appreciate life. You should see the value in the sanctity of life. But I'm saying in those rare circumstances where there essentially is no life, there is no purpose, there's no more this person can do, there's nothing going on for them, there's no hope, there's nothing. In that case, then I feel like there is no quality of life, is there? There's nothing for this person. So why torment this person this much for them to keep going at it, keep doing this another day, and then just wait for them to die naturally, rather than just it is easing their suffering. It's yeah. So I think in those circumstances, yeah, but the sanctity of life, as it always should be very valued, and it should be looked at with a lot of caution, and a lot of thought needs to go into this decision, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I think it can only be in a rare situation where there's no other hope.
Exactly.
It's literally the final option, and that's the only thing you can do for the patient just to relieve the suffering. And only in those situations it can be considered, and I even say just considered then as well, because like we said, you can get situations where patients personally they would want to live, or they don't think they want to hope that they can live, and be that small minority, and yeah, and I think go on.
I want to play the devil's advocate in both of your points where you say in these final situations where it's so suffering, pain.
Go on.
How about palliative care? You could just be bogged out on morphine and just stay there. You're still alive, but you just be out of reality, out of touch. You could be conked out sleeping, just be on morphine. Palliative care. You can.
What's the point in that then?
But you have to think it's quality of life is so personal, because for example, some person that might be just sat in bed, let's say when I'm 80, right, and I'm still supporting United, and I'm sat in bed I'm just paralyzed, but all I can see is just United playing every twice a week, every year, but I can't move anything. But that's my quality of life. But I'm satisfied with that quality of life. And I want to carry on with my life. Whereas some person might be like, oh wait, I've just got I got an amputee now, Well, you know what I'm trying to say, like
Yeah,
quality of
yeah.
life to you relatively might be better, but for them it's worse.
That
So
makes
they
sense.
may consider like euthanasia or whatever to end their life, or assisted suicide. So I think it is so personal, like what quality
Yeah,
of life is, and it
I
should be
agree.
dependent on that person. I think. Like I said, like I don't think anything like doctors or someone else, like family members, friends, should have the.
Yeah, so the one thing with people don't realize is that obviously I know it sounds bad, but you got to consider as a population as a whole, there are family members who might not have the best interest for you just because of like inheritance, because of like money and that. So it's true though,
Yeah,
like
it is
that's the
true.
reason why like
Yeah,
family members don't necessarily have the final say
yeah,
because as a doctor, you're kind of looking at it from an objective perspective. Well, family members there is some sort of sense of
bias.
motivation. Like for
Yeah.
example, like if you're there homeless and you're like one of your home members that, like is in the iffy of life, there is a bit of a motivation for you that person to die quicker for you, like,
Even
I
even
was
though how
gonna,
bad it sounds.
yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I was gonna say though, like, okay, again, I've said it bears, isn't it? But what I'm trying to say is, I'm not supporting it too. But I'm saying, imagine it was like legal, or like it was like, although in rare cases it did happen in the UK. I think that way, like people that have gone to Switzerland that like have been it, like, or people like that who have wanting it, but then because they haven't, I guess that it kind of gives them that kind of little bit of dignity as well, innit? Because
Mm.
they got like a, say like it was a terminal illness, they got this terminal illness that they had no control over. They kind of had a little bit of control over how they end their own life. So I guess it gives them a little bit of dignity. So I see like why it is like, as in what I'm trying to say, that I can see and I can hear opinions on why it should be legalized, but also I think about like say the doctor or something, in it. Like imagine the as doctors already, like you're gonna be going through a lot of like life or death situations anyway, and then imagine you have the power to kill someone, or you have the power to like end someone's life on Earth, in it. So it's like quite like, it could be traumatizing for a doctor as well. And I even like say, um, making it legal, let's say, and then like say you're in that position, like say when you guys become doctors, like you might not be wanting to
Yeah,
do that. Do you know what I mean? You don't want to like
that's so
be
true.
the
That's so
reason.
true.
It's like you have to think about it from the doctors and like the nurses and like the care workers perspective as well, like how it is like quite difficult for them as well to like actually end someone's life. Yeah, I get it, like turning on the ventilator might like trick your mind to say, yeah, this isn't it, but like imagine actually killing them, or like the act of actually killing them is quite like
Yeah,
traumatizing, in it, for anyone, like.
Yeah, I
So you
think
have to think about it from that perspective as well.
yeah, I think if I could just add to that, it's like similar with abortion, because some
mm.
doctors still like feel iffy about carrying out abortion, and even now they still doctors who would carry out abortion until like 20 weeks or 25 weeks, and some will do it before that, and it's a personal choice like, as to when you want to carry out, like essentially like end someone's life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's similar to that as well. So it's quite interesting that
It's-
you brought that up.
So
yeah,
I'll
it's
say this is actually for me. I'll say this is the biggest, like for me, why I would maybe like support euthanasia is the fact that the do with the dignity. As Bedan mentioned before, if someone has the means to actually end their life, I mean, I can't judge a person's on what their reason is. Maybe it's because they're suffering, physically, or they they believe that their life's not worth living. Maybe if they have the means to want to end their life, rather than do it through suicide, where it would torment the family, where it's hidden, where it might be like criminal in a lot of countries. But if you do it in a more dignified way, at least that
yeah,
that memory of them at the end isn't tarnished, or like
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing, like the memory at the end of your life, because at the end of the day, like you remember like the person, like your last few interactions with a person, no matter like what you say. Yeah, of course you might have known them for this long, like this amount of time, but then like your last few like moments, like your last few, like let's say like months, days, like that's the one you remember like someone of, in it. And then imagine someone's got a terminal illness, and then they themselves feel like less dignified, and also if they have the means to do it, like people would go to Switzerland and stuff. But obviously these are people that are like very well off, in it. But what about, or like, so there is, so people that do want to like do want to do this, in it, they have the means to do it. It's either through like killing themselves, like through suicide, or like just going to like certain countries and getting these procedures done. But like it's for those people that aren't able to do all this, and then who haven't got the means to do this. Like, I don't know, do you know what I mean? So I guess that's why I kind of see like why people might like go for it. But again, like there is a lot of this. For me, I wouldn't like make it legal, innit? But although this whole episode I've kind of like said as if like I am like going towards legalizing it, let's say, but I wouldn't like just do it just because I don't know. It's just like life's too precious, and like, and then I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's just the way. I think Sanjay mentioned it before. It's the way you view what life is. Like you mentioned about like abortion and like where you think where life starts and where it's just a fetus or an embryo or something. It's what you view life as. Do you view it as, oh, just your heart beating, your brain working, your like blood's pumping, or do you view it as like you're enjoying something, you're enjoying like you're making the most out of your time, your feelings, everything. You're doing something, you're having interactions. Like what you view, I think it's down to the end of that, like what you actually view life as. I think that's what people have to make that decision, and why it should, why I think people like maybe it's still illegal because
Okay, so I mean, we discussed quite interesting aspects to euthanasia, and we don't necessarily, have to come to a conclusion or whether we believe it's right or wrong at this point, just because it's such a complicated topic, and we can literally dwell on it for a long while, and there are certain cases where you think, oh, maybe it would be good, and sometimes there are cases where we would think, oh, what if this and what if that? What if the patient has a chance of survival? So it's something that I guess it's hard to come to a conclusion on whether it's right or wrong, and I guess for us the debate kind of continues. But moving on from that, hopefully you guys enjoyed that topic, and something a bit more lighthearted to finish off today's podcast is Into the Jar. So who's doing it today?
Clearly me, innit? Like, but who am I asking?
Who got asked last time?
It doesn't matter, bro.
Oh, Simran.
Simran got asked.
Oh, I was about to say you should have asked her.
Alright, I'm gonna ask the host.
Oof.
Yo.
I got some fresh questions. Let's see this one. Okay. What is one thing you don't like about yourself?
What is one thing I don't like about myself?
Yeah.
Oh, that's hard.
If you ask this question like say 5 months ago, yeah, but like I would know, innit?
I'll say my calves are looking a bit small.
Oh, easy answers. Nah, come on, bro.
What?
Now that's appearance-wise.
Okay.
Appearance.
I'll say like some no. Okay, or appearance-wise or like
No, I'm saying personality.
Personality.
Okay, I'll say one thing is I can kind of snap sometimes. Like I can get snappy sometimes. Like I So like so I guess like if I could have better control of like that.
That's fair enough.
I would have.
Self-reflection.
That's good.
Jeez.
I agree, but yeah.
But I don't stay angry for long though.
Yeah.
Nah, that's good though. That's good.
Yeah.
Mad.
All right.
Fair.
Yeah. All right then, guys. So is that it?
Yeah.
Thank you
That's
for
it.
listening.
Okay.
Thank you for watching. Make sure you guys go like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you guys
Come on.
send in questions because I swear we posted an Instagram poll the other day and then
Yeah.
I think